Trump's trade war with his closest allies is on again. The president slaps tariffs on steel and aluminium imports from Britain, as well as France, Canada and Mexico, and they threaten to retaliate.
These tariffs are an affront to the long-standing security partnership between Canada and the United States, and in particular, an affront to the thousands of Canadians who have fought and died alongside their American brothers in arms.
The measure is popular with Trump's core supporters, but does it risk increasing America's isolation from the rest of the world? Good evening. Given the choice, President Trump promised that he would always defend American industry, even if it came at the cost of a trade war with America's allies. And so it's proved as he slapped trade tariffs on some of America's oldest and closest partners. That has provoked nothing less than fury. From midnight US time, the European Union, including Britain, plus Canada and Mexico, will be added to the list of countries subject to tariffs on their steel and aluminium exports to the US. A trade war has been triggered with reprisals already threatened, and who knows where it will end.
Having opted to impose tariffs on some of America's closest allies, the president approached the cameras this morning to talk not of an imminent trade war, but of US economic strength.
The economy is good, stock market's up, a lot of jobs, best unemployment we've had in many, many decades, actually.
It was in March that the White House first imposed tariffs on steel and aluminium imports. But Europe, Mexico and Canada were given temporary exemption. At midnight, that changes, and now those countries, including Britain, face immediate US trade barriers. Steel will be taxed at 25%, aluminium at 10%. It is likely to trigger a trade war, with EU officials lightning quick to express outrage and to promise retaliatory measures on America.
What they can do, we are able to do exactly the same. It's totally unacceptable that a country is imposing unilateral measures when it comes to world trade.
I think they might want a handshake.
Even that anger didn't match the profound sense of betrayal felt by the Canadians. Justin Trudeau, like European leaders, has worked hard to build a relationship with Donald Trump. The final straw today was the US claim that the tariffs are a national security imperative.
These tariffs are an affront to the long-standing security partnership between Canada and the United States, and in particular, an affront to the thousands of Canadians who have fought and died alongside their American brothers in arms. That Canada could be considered a national security threat to the United States is inconceivable.
Astonishingly, and in a significant misjudgment of the mood of key allies, the US Commerce Secretary today simply shrugged his shoulders.
These are blips in the radar screen. I don't think they change the fundamentals of relationship. Everybody has spats every now and again. Every family does, every country does with others. There's nothing weird about that. I think everybody will get over this in due course.
The great fear is that in a trade war, everyone loses. Consumers pay higher prices, and tariffs have a ripple effect across industries and entire economies. The countermeasures are already taking shape. Mexico will be putting tariffs on American flat steel, pork bellies, apples, grapes, and cheese. Ottawa will tax US steel and aluminium coming into Canada, as well as a range of products including whiskey and orange juice. And the European Union is likely to target motorcycles, peanut butter and jeans, all carefully chosen as iconic American products. The president sees today's measures as protecting the industrial workers who were so crucial to his election victory. And his economic nationalism should come as no surprise.
Robert is in Washington tonight and Angus Walker is in Westminster. Robert, first, this might be, as you said, worrying America's allies, but music not only to the ears of President Trump supporters, but no surprise, really.
Well, look, American sort of industrial workers in the heartland, in the Midwest, may initially be supportive of what's unfolded today. But also remember, Raggy, that 50% of American steel is exported to Canada. Now that steel faces a reciprocal 25% tariff. So economists don't agree on very much in the world, but there is a pretty broad consensus that this type of the trade war that has been unleashed today probably damages everybody, including American industrial workers. So this sense that Trump may have of a political victory could prove quite fleeting. I think the bigger point tonight is just how much the transatlantic relationship is frayed. President Macron has given a speech tonight in which he calls the US action illegal. He says it will be challenged. He also goes on to accuse the Americans of economic nationalism and adds very dramatically that nationalism is war, and therefore it is looking like the 1930s. I think a final point is this, that this is really an assault on the very kind of global economic architecture that America itself put in place. One US Treasury Secretary has said tonight this is economic aggression, and I think Europeans and Canadians would probably agree with that assessment.
Robert in Washington, thank you. To Angus now. Angus, Theresa May's government, let's be frank, has endlessly talked up a post-Brexit trade deal with the US, but that's taken a kick in the teeth tonight, surely, with this action.
Yeah, deeply disappointing is the official line from the government. The Trade Secretary, Liam Fox, called these tariffs patently absurd, frustrating for the government because they've put a lot of effort into trying to avoid this situation. Liam Fox has been back and forth to Washington pleading a special case for the UK, especially as we are a key ally of the United States, and the White House had been using a national security clause to impose these tariffs, but those meetings failed to avoid the UK getting some sort of exemption. There will be those who see this whole issue through the filter of Brexit, and there will be those in the opposition and some within the Conservative Party who say this undermines the argument made by Brexit enthusiasts like Liam Fox that the UK will be better off striking its own trade deals outside the EU, not in it. The argument that could be made, much to the government's annoyance no doubt, will be that if we can't do a deal with the United States, a country we have a special relationship with, then who can we do a good deal with?
OK, Angus in Westminster, thanks very much indeed.